Hi, Dr. Patricia Ramos here with the Network of Medical Audiology Professionals at the FCOM meeting. And right now I have Brent Lucas, who is the CEO of Envoy Medical. Happy to have you here with us at the meeting.
It's good to be here.
But tell me a little bit about what's happening in your business right now.
So Envoy's in the process of designing and entering into clinical trials with our fully implanted cochlear implant, the Acclaim cochlear implant, and we're excited about bringing that forward in the clinical trials and hopefully get regulatory approval. So
in that vein, why an implantable, totally implantable cochlear implant? What do you see as an advantage of that?
Yeah, there's a lot of advantages from quality of life. At least that's what we're hoping to prove through the clinical trial. Without the externals, you have that true 24-hour a day, 7 days a week hearing. There should be some advantages as well to using the ear as the microphone rather than having an artificial microphone. Our first product, the Esteem, which is an active middle ear implant, we saw that patients really enjoyed the quality of sound from using their ear as the microphone versus an artificial microphone.
Well, and I think in that population also, you know, once you get your hearing back in that kind of format, giving it up at any time of the day is difficult, right? Especially young parents and things of that sort. So you're talking about totally implantable, what kind of battery life do you expect in that?
So that's one of the things that we'll be testing in the clinical trial, but we'll have a battery pack that we hope is several days between a charge, up to a week, and then eventually as battery technology gets better, we should be able to increase that time. So it'll be a rechargeable battery, and our device is designed where the battery will be in the thoracic region, and you'll have a battery not in the head but in the chest, similar to some deep brain stimulation devices or some other therapies, sleep apnea devices. And eventually, as technology gets better, battery technology gets better, we'll shrink that down and we'll see where it goes. But we decided to go that route with the device because we think it benefits the patient to be able to have sort of a once-a-week charge, and hopefully that brings the quality of life that we're hoping for.
Absolutely. So we've had a very unusual last 18 months, right, from the standpoint of just in general from the pandemic. But what do you think, or what do you see has really changed in your business during this time?
Yeah, so I think in the hearing industry in general, it's a very interesting time with the over-the-counter legislation, some of the other discussions going on in DC. You see new entrants coming into the marketplace. It's a very interesting time in hearing in general. Our business was impacted by COVID significantly from a vendor-supplier issue. A lot of medical device companies were impacted, I think, by some of the other infrastructure around us as we go through design. So that was a little difficult. And then I would say the other thing that has come to the industry and our patients and customers has been the desire for more remote programming ability, just in general, I think. So. Well,
we were talking about that earlier, about the telehealth, you know, how it's been around for a long time, really. Right. But we couldn't quite ever adopt it. Either patient couldn't adopt it or the provider couldn't adopt it. And I think that telehealth is here to stay, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the benefits of the pandemic was it really pushed things forward. I mean, grandmas and grandpas are FaceTiming with kids across the country, getting more used to technology. So I think it's just been good in general. And you see the other professions and other sort of provider subgroups also looking at remote. So it's not just going to be teleaudiology, you know, not just the hearing industry pushing it forward, but everybody is moving that direction.
So Brent, one thing that I think really came about through the last 18 months too is because of the pandemic and people wearing masks, obviously. All of a sudden they realized that their hearing was not necessarily as good as they thought it was.
Right, right.
And so how do you think that realization with all that's going on in the industry today can be a positive impact on patients?
Yeah, I think you can go look at the over-the-counter stuff. You can look at some of the new entrants into the marketplace, and some people can look at it and make arguments, is it good or bad for the industry? But I think one of the benefits of things like that, where the mask, people not hearing as well. You know, moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas are now discovering their hearing loss. It just brings more people into the overall funnel, and I think that's a good thing for the industry, and hopefully the industry is good stewards in doing the right thing for those patients over time. Because I do think that as more and more people come in, that's going to just be more and more people that we can help in the long run, up and down the food chain, so to speak.
Well, and hearing is kind of that hidden issue, right? Things that people don't really want to talk about sometimes, but it's so vital to life.
Yeah.
And I think that the pandemic really kind of brought that around too, because we were so isolated in a lot of ways. And telehealth really kind of brought that answer as well.
Yep. And our device, the first device, the Esteem, the middle ear implant, we learned over time that just being able to connect people in bad times with their loved ones, we've had, I mean, anecdotes, but we've had some anecdotes about people entering, you know, their last years of life and being able to communicate with their nurse or communicate with their loved one is a really, really big deal. And I think that's part of this pandemic as well, is really showing people that they have to be able to communicate, they have to be able to stay in touch.
Absolutely. So here at FCOM, okay, one of our goals is to really bring everyone together, to learning from the same playbook, all the specialties that are involved in that patient journey. How do you think that could impact our patient care as we move forward?
Yeah, I think bringing people together from different specialties is very important. These are my favorite kind of meetings to come to, when there's not just surgeon or audiologist, when there's a combination. And it's even better at FCOM that you have other, you know, sleep apnea companies and other things here as well that I don't normally get to interact with. So not only am I able to have meetings with surgeons and audiologists instead of just one, I can also meet with some of my peers and have good conversations, talk about strategy, manufacturing issues, everything. So in terms of somebody like myself having to decide how we're going to spend our resources, a meeting like this makes a lot more sense for us because we get to talk to more people. Plus, as we've sort of touched on, the idea that hearing is not just a audiological problem or a surgical problem. It is a care problem and a hearing health issue for everyone. So the more people you can bring, the more people you can educate, I think the better off everyone is.
Absolutely. And one thing that we have really, I've been focusing on, and I think in healthcare in general, you're starting to see a turn too, where you've got now physician's assistants and you have nurse practitioners that are becoming that first entry point for a lot of patients. And that, I believe, is not an area just like for that they have a lot of information on hearing.
Right.
So I think that bringing them into that fold of understanding is vital for the patient.
Yeah, no, I think it's critical. It's amazing to me how few professionals, you know, healthcare professionals understand hearing loss, and the more people that can be brought under that tent, the better off we all are. And as we're seeing, there's a lot of connections between hearing loss or correlations between hearing loss and other issues, health issues. And as that gets investigated, I think it makes more sense for a patient's entire care team to be educated on hearing loss.
Well, and I think, you know, I've been in this field for quite a number of years at this point, and things that I used to talk to patients about that just seemed like common sense are now coming to be very much proven, if not in a cause and effect, but in a correlative arena. So I think the comorbidity thing is super important, right? Because now you've got that whole care of the patient.
Right, right. Yeah, and hearing loss, especially in the cochlear implant space, for adults in the U.S., penetration rates are very, very low, you know, single-digit penetration rates. And part of that, I think, is because there's not enough knowledge in primary care or other folks able to step in and tell people, you know, you probably need a cochlear implant or you need to get a hearing aid. And until more people are aware of the situation and the benefits that can come from that, I don't know that we're going to improve those penetration rates, which we should want to, because if you address hearing loss, there's good arguments to be made that over time you'll save the entire healthcare industry money.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure having you with us. I hope you'll come back next year.
Of course.
And we will look forward to that.
Yeah, it's
and
good to
just
see you.
making great improvements next year.
Yeah, hopefully good adjustments to talk about next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.